time for another Nebraska Prep Zone report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson, and joining me today is Mike Patterson. Second of a little trio of appearances here for you.
Right. Busy time, Jake. Districts finishing up this week, and of course on to the extended state tournament next week.
We'll have you back on next week to preview that girls' state tournament, and we'll circle back to that a little bit later because we know the Class B girls field. But first, let's talk about that Class A boys district bracket that was released this morning. A1, Bellevue West gets the top overall seed. They'll face the winner of Fremont and Columbus, the 4 and 5 seeds there. And then that other semifinal will be North Platte and Lincoln North Star. A2, Millard North, the second overall seed. They get the winner of the 4 and 5 Norfolk Lincoln High. And that other semifinal will be Grand Island and Gretna. So looking at that one, just taking the overarching view here, there could be a very interesting, not to look too far ahead, very interesting final there. Grand Island and Millard North, Isaac Trout, and the star power of the Mustangs. That'd be intriguing.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. I haven't seen Trout this year. I saw him last year, and I was impressed then. And of course, I saw the Mustangs, and we all know about Salis and St. Thomas and the rest of that bunch. So like I said, that could be an interesting one. I saw Bellevue West last Friday against Central, Jake, and T-Birds won in overtime, but they're looking really strong too as the defending champs. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things play out.
And as we look at who could unseat those top two teams, A3 is probably a contender there. That number one team, Omaha Creighton Prep, they'll get the winner of the 4-5 Omaha Bryan, Omaha Northwest. The other semifinal there, Elkhorn South and Kearney. And then jump into A4, number one, Lincoln Pius X, and they'll take on the 4 seed Omaha South. The other semifinal, number 2, Lincoln Southeast, number 3, Lincoln East, a very Lincoln-flavored district.
Again, interesting to see how that one pans out. You mentioned Prep. I think Stu wrote that they really are playing the best defense right now. Are they the best team right now? I don't know if you can say that, but they're playing the best defense, holding Central to 39 points the other night. I think a lot of people were, okay, this year it's going to be Millard North and Bellevue West, and then kind of everybody else after that. But I think Prep has elevated itself up into the big two, quote unquote. And, I'm interested to see how these other districts are going to play out also.
Yeah, and let's finish the last 3 districts. A5, Omaha Central, who we've talked about a little bit. They'll take on the number 4, Omaha Burke. And then that 2-3 game will be Papio South hosting Lincoln Southwest. In A6, the number 1 seed, Papillion La Vista, they'll host Bellevue East. That 2-3 game there is Lincoln Northeast hosting number 3, Millard South. And A7, last but not least, number 1, Omaha Westside against the number 4 seed Bunnies, Omaha Benson, and number 2, Millard West, number 3, Omaha North.
Yeah, when you get down to that A7 district where you've got the top seed and then the second seed, the way they're serpentine from the wild card points, that number 2 seed's pretty darn close to that number 1 seed. And, it might come down to the number 1 seed getting a chance to play at home. So we'll see how that plays out. But, a lot of good potential matchups in there, Jake.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to see how it plays out. And a reminder to everybody, the district winner gets a spot in state, and then the 8th spot goes to the top remaining team in wild card points.
Only one wild card in any of the classes, and it comes in Class A. So that wild card is a rarity to snag, and no team really counts on that wild card. It's just go out and try and win it the way we want to win it. But one lucky team is still going to get down there, even though they lost in districts.
And let's stay in Class A, but preview the girls' districts because we have some of those games tonight. Let's start with A1, the semifinals there. the number 1 overall seed, Lincoln Pius X, hosting Omaha South. And the other semifinal, number 2, Omaha Benson. The Bunnies will host the Thunderbirds of Bellevue West.
I think what you're going to see from all these district matchups, girls and probably a lot boys too, that those top seeds are going to have the best of it, especially in the semifinals. They're playing at home. Those 2 and 3 seeds, like in this one, Bellevue West against Benson, those are going to be the really competitive, close games, I think. Bellevue West and Benson have both played pretty well this year. They're both around that 500 mark. Benson beat Bellevue West at home earlier this season, Jake. Bellevue West has Taryn Wharton, their fine player. I saw them play last week against Central. Central got them at Bellevue West. Thunderbirds are pretty good, but I'm going to go with Stu's Benson Bunnies to get the victory tonight, playing on their home court.
And Pius likely the overwhelming favorite to advance out of this district.
Right. Got to like the Thunderbolts playing at home, undefeated this year. We've talked a lot about Alexis Markowski and the solid player that she is. So, yes, I'm making the Thunderbolts a prohibitive favorite tonight against the Packers. And then probably again on Thursday, playing at home again. But we'll see. You never really know what's going to happen, Jake, but I'd be very surprised if Pius isn't playing on Thursday night for that state tournament berth.
Not to make you go out on a huge limb there, but happy to look ahead.
Right.
A2, that number 1 seed, Millard South, they'll host Lincoln Southeast. They advanced out of the 4-5 matchup. And then an intriguing semifinal, number 2 Gretna hosting number 3 Omaha West Side.
Again, those number 2 and number 3 seeds, pretty close. Got to give a solid edge to the Patriots in that other game, playing at home as top seed in that district. West Side and Gretna, West Side has lost. They usually finish strong, but they've kind of struggled down the stretch, Jake. I think they've lost their last 7 games, and Gretna's kind of been pretty good. Again, around the 500 mark. 2 really good defensive coaches, Jerome Scudler for Gretna and Steve Clark for Westside. So I'm expecting kind of a low-scoring game there, but got to give the edge to the Dragons playing at home and Millard South in the other game. So I'd be expecting Gretna probably to be playing Millard South on Thursday night.
And who would you give the edge to there, Millard South or Gretna?
Got to give it to those Patriots. I mean, they had those great freshmen last year. Now they're very good sophomores this year. They put up 107 points in a game, Jake. What's that tell you? So they can light it up.
I think that's good.
They can light it up. Got to go with the Patriots to take down that district.
And then A3, the number 1 overall seed there is Lincoln Southwest, number 4 Millard West, and then that 2-3 game, Kearney and Norfolk.
Right. Southwest isn't really very flashy, but they are one of the top 5 teams this year, no question. Millard West, they've had a disappointing season by their standards. They have had a couple of pretty good wins down the stretch. They won at Westside, which is a good win for them, but got to go with Southwest playing on their home court, Jake. And the other one, Norfolk and Kearney, I'll give a slight edge to Kearney. They also haven't been playing great down the stretch. I think they lost their last 4. I saw them play at Central a few weeks ago, and they do have some pretty good players. So let's go with the Bearcats over Norfolk. And if it's Bearcats and Southwest on Thursday night, I'm staying with that number 1 seed in that district, Southwest, to probably move on to state.
All right, moving to A4, number 1 seed there, Omaha Central, 20-3. They'll host Columbus. And then that 2-3 game, Lincoln North Star and Omaha Marion.
Right. Very tough game for Dave Licari and his Columbus Discoverers going into Central. They're hitting on all cylinders this year. Again, one of the top 5 teams. They've got a lot of height. Ania Jones, their fine point guard freshman. We've talked about her this season. So The Eagles should be able to put away Columbus tonight. And, the other one I think will be pretty close, Marion and Lincoln North Star. Marion hasn't played great down the stretch. North Star hasn't either. I think they're 2-6 in their last 8. So it's going to be a matter of who's going to come to play tonight. This is kind of a toss-up, Jake. I'm going to give a very slight edge to Marion. They defeated Millard South earlier this season, which is something not a lot of teams have been able to do. CC Hacker just went over 1,000 points for their career. Very close game. I guess slight edge to the Crusaders, but whichever team wins tonight, got to give it to the Central Eagles to come out of that district and move on to state.
And moving on to A5, it surprised me a little bit to see Fremont that low. Those 2 losses to Pius probably dropped them a little bit in wildcard points. Still a strong loss each time for them. But they'll be hosting number 4 Elkhorn South, and that 2-3 game, Papillion La Vista and Omaha Burke.
I was kind of surprised to see that too, Jake. I think I've got Fremont ranked number 3, so I thought they'd be up a little higher. And no shame in losing to the Pius a couple of times this year. And Fremont actually was ahead late in one of those games and it slipped away. So I think the Tigers are really dangerous heading here down the stretch. Disappointing season for Elkhorn South this year. I know they were hoping for better, but I think Fremont playing on its home court will probably put an end to the Storm season tonight. Burke and Papio, now we're getting down to the point where these games are really toss-ups. Burke's had some good games. So is Papio. I think Papio's playing just a little bit better here the last week or two. They beat Lincoln East recently, so that's a quality win. So let's give an edge to the Monarchs there. The Monarchs play at Fremont on Thursday. I've got to go with the Tigers to get back to state and probably take down that A5 title.
And A6 then, number 1 North Platte. Little bit of a surprise to people who probably just focus on Omaha and Lincoln. Number 4 seed there, Omaha Northwest, and the number 2-3 game there, Millard North and Bellevue East.
Right. Again, we're getting down to the interesting part here, Jake. I ranked North Platte. I hadn't ranked them, I don't think hardly at all this season, and I slipped them into the Class A ratings last week, and sure enough, I got some emails from people. Oh, how can you rank North Platte? They don't play the Metro. They don't play the tough schedule that some of these other schools do. But, they made it to state last year. They've got a very fine player in Gracie Hannaborg. And I thought I could easily justify slipping North Platte into the ratings. I think they should be able to put Northwest away tonight. The other game, Bellevue East and Millard North, that's where I'm going tonight, Jake. That's going to be a good one, I think. I saw Bellevue East defeat Bellevue West earlier this year. Really good game, won by a point. I saw Bellevue East lose at Papio. Millard North is really playing very strong, 7-1 down the stretch. So I'm going to give the Mustangs a slight edge playing on their home court and the strength of that 7-1 finish. And, which would mean Millard North at North Platte on Thursday. Boy, I don't know. A lot of people sell North Platte short. I'm not ready to do that. I think that either one, Bellevue East or Millard North, that would be a good game at North Platte. I think I'm going to give a slight edge to Millard North to go out and get that done, even though it's tough to go all the way across the state and try to win that. If North Platte wins, it would not surprise me in the least. But let's give a slight edge to Millard North and their first-year coach, Chris Paulson, to get his team to state.
Yeah, that's been one of this season's interesting storylines. Mustangs, they had some key pieces to replace. And as you noted, surging down the stretch, 7-1. A7, right. Our last bracket, Lincoln High, number 1 seed there. It's very interesting to me to see the amount of number 1 seeds from Lincoln, 3 of them, which feels a total flip from previous years. They'll host the number 4 seed Papio South. And then the 2-3 matchup there, Lincoln East hosting number 3 Lincoln Northeast.
Right. How about only 2 of those number 1 seeds in districts coming out of the Metro, Jake, because you have got Fremont and North Platte in there too. So, but let's talk about A7. This is again where you're going to see some competitive games. Lincoln High opens up against Papio South, and I'm going to give a slight edge to Lincoln High. They're playing at home. They're the number 1 seed, but I'm not going to sell the Titans short here, Jake. I think they've won 6 in a row, really playing well down the stretch here. So slight edge to Lincoln High, but if Papio South could somehow spring that upset, I guess it wouldn't really surprise me all that much. And then we'll move on to the Battle of Lincoln, Northeast and East. I'm going to give the edge to the Spartans. They've been ranked higher this season. I don't think I've had Northeast ranked all season. Lincoln East lost that game recently to Papio. I think they're going to refocus here. I like Dennis Pritchard as a coach, really good coach. So let's go with Lincoln East to win that game tonight, which means possible Lincoln East and Lincoln High. I'm going to go slight edge to the Spartans there. Let's go with the number 2 seed, kind of more battle tested as far as the state tournament and things like that go. So could go either way. I could see the Lynx winning, but let's give it to the Spartans, slight edge there.
Interesting. Picking the upset there. Crystal ball.
Yes. Karnak sees all, knows all, or at least sees all. I don't know about knows all.
Well, either way, talking through all those teams, that's going to be a loaded Class A field, as it is pretty much every year. Speaking of good state fields, we know the teams for Class B. We don't know the seeds, but out of the district winners Saturday, that field is set. Those 8 teams: Omaha Gross, Omaha Skutt, Norris, Elkhorn North, Crete, York, Scottsbluff, and Bennington.
Right. Kind of real interesting mix there, Jake. As Elkhorn North is kind of the interesting first-year program. We've talked about Britt Prince, their fine freshman, daughter of the head coach. Thing about Elkhorn North, though, they almost got beat in districts on their home court by Hastings. They won by a point. So I don't know what you can draw from that. They haven't been in this position before, obviously, since they're a new program. But I think a lot of fans are probably in for a treat because they're going to get to see Britt Prince play down there on the big stage at state. So Elkhorn North going. Norris really made a statement. They really dismantled South Sioux City in their district final. They won by about 40 or 50 points, Jake. So I think Norris is – what's that?
39.
And South Sioux City have been playing pretty well. We know all about their tradition and things like that. And I thought that was going to be – I thought Norris was going to win. I thought that game would be a lot closer than it was, but it wasn't. So I think
it helps when Norris had more points in 3-pointers than South Sioux City had overall.
Right. Yeah, how many 3-pointers did they have that game? Was it
14? That's
what I thought. I was going to say 13 or 14. So, yeah, they really are peaking at a nice time. So Mark Hagerman will have his team ready to go at state. And better give a shout out to Bennington. They were the only road team that was able to win on Saturday. So they won at Beatrice. So congratulations to the Badgers for getting to state. I kind of double dipped on Saturday. I went to Omaha Gross and then I zipped out to Omaha Skutt, caught the end of that game. So both those teams won on their home court. So statement for the River Cities Conference there. And who else do we have, Jake? Crete, John Larson just set the state records. So the Cardinals defending champs, they're going back. So there's interesting storyline there. York has had one of their best teams. So they'll probably be a factor. And I think I might be forgetting one team.
I think that's all of them. Looking over the list, always good to see the defending champs back in the field.
Right.
One interesting note for me, Blair falling short against York, denied their first state tourney trip since 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Were they a younger team? Is that something we could look for next year?
Yeah, I think they did have a younger team, Jake. And boy, they had a nice season this year. It's kind of unfortunate they didn't make it. They came up just short. But again, it's if you haven't been in that position in a while, a lot of times it's hard to get that win. I saw that down at Omaha Gross when they're playing Grand Island Northwest, was in the final last year, and Gross hasn't been to state in a few years, so Cougars were able to win on their home court. So we'll see what they can do down at state. They're probably going to be one of the lower seeds, which means they might be taking on Norris or somebody like that first round. So that'll be a real tough one for them. I think one of the other storylines, Jake, to watch is the status of Lindsey Krause at Omaha Skutt, their fine senior center. We all know a Nebraska volleyball recruit. I spoke with Renee Saunders, their volleyball coach and assistant basketball coach, the other day when I was out there. And she said this week will probably just going to keep an eye on Lindsey, who's nursing a knee injury, and see how she's doing this week. And, they're not going to play her if she's not 100%, and they shouldn't play her if she's not 100%. So she's got that fine college career ahead of her. But, Scott would be a lot stronger with her. But, they're pretty good even without her. They've been playing pretty well here the last few weeks. So another interesting sidelight.
We did forget one team, and we need to be sure to mention
the Bearcats out west. Right?
Scotts Bluff. We're not forgetting about Western Nebraska. I promise you, we are not forgetting Western Nebraska. It's their 6th trip to state, 2nd in a row. Scotts Bluff beat Elkhorn 49-37.
Right. I knew there was one team we were forgetting, Jake. And like you said, I want to give respect to any team that makes it to state. And, Elkhorn beat Elkhorn North in the sub-districts. So that showed what Elkhorn was capable of. And, they went out there, and I think the Antlers felt like, hey, we got a pretty good chance to win this game. But Scotts Bluff shut them down. They must have played great defense in that game. And, again, striking a blow for Western Nebraska. I know North Platte going to be trying to do that this week, but props to the Bearcats for getting back to the state tournament. We don't want to forget them. And they beat Elkhorn, who beat Elkhorn North. So that tells me one thing: they belong.
Yep. And we'll go more in depth on those girls state basketball storylines next week. We'll preview each bracket, give our thoughts on each one of those. Until next time, thanks for listening.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.